Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I love teaching about communication styles and helping identify communication styles. For this reason, I went and got my DISC behavioral certification. So I can go to businesses, I can go to people, and I can teach them how to identify different communication styles. I can administer a DISC assessment so they know their communication style and how they can better communicate with other people, say for example within their organization, or salespeople when they're working with customers. I feel in today's world, the ability to communicate more efficiently is becoming a lost art. More and more, the more we have cell phones, and smartphones, and these different devices that allow us to be social online rather than in person. And so being able to identify these styles becomes very important. Now, in the Toastmasters module, they had an assessment that I took. It was kind of similar to DISC. And the results that it gives you are direct, initiating, supportive, and analytical. In the DISC assessment, they also have 4 options, but it's dominant, influential, steady, and compliant. And as I read the definitions of all the ones in the Toastmasters, I realized that they were the same thing, they just used different words. Now, when I took both of the assessments, the DISC assessment is more comprehensive, and my number 1 communication style came out as an I, influential. With Toastmasters, I was also the number 1, initiating. And when I looked at the definitions, they're all the same, so pretty consistent. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to identify the styles and how to best communicate when you identify that style. Now really the best way to know a style is taking the assessment, but that's not always an option. So sometimes you just kind of have to guess based on how people are acting and what they're doing. So, how many of you ever have taken a DISC assessment before or are familiar with DISC at all? Anyone in here? No? Okay, a little bit. So, like I said, it's dominant, influential, steady, and compliant. If you look at the bottom, the C and the S are more introverted. They're more reserved. Versus the D's and the I's are more outgoing. They like to socialize, they like to talk to people. You go to the left side with the D's and the C's, they tend to be more task-oriented. So for example, if you go to them and say, I need you to clean up this computer so it runs more efficiently. They are focused on the task. Versus I's and S's, they're more people-oriented. I need you to clean up this computer so your coworkers can use it. Can you see the difference there? This is why it's important to understand what their style is so you know how to communicate with them better. What's their motivation? What's their talent? So, D's, who we'll start with. Dominant. They love being in positions of power. They're drawn to leadership, political, sports, business, whatever it is. They communicate, and once they have the information they need, they can make decisions. And so people tend to follow them because they are great decision makers. If a change needs to be made and they see that it's more efficient, they will make the change without hesitation. D personalities do tend to be a little bit more abrasive. Says the biggest fear here is being taken advantage of. Really more than that, it's loss of control. They like being in control. So a lot of times they can be more abrasive, they can be more blunt because they need to assert that control, that dominance. A lot of times in movies, they're portrayed as the bad guy. So based on this information, can anyone name a famous person who might be a D personality?
John Wayne.
John Wayne. John Wayne very well could be a D personality. I could see that for sure. Any other thoughts? Let's see if we can get one more. Nixon. So it's interesting. Nixon could be seen as a D personality. He actually comes up in one of the other personalities as well, though. So I will talk about Nixon. But many presidents and world leaders are D personalities.
Trump is.
Donald Trump is the poster child D personality. Okay. So absolutely. A few others. Simon Cowell, Bobby Knight, Michael Jordan, Darth Vader, and I'm pretty convinced that J.K. Rowling was looking at DISC personalities when she assigned the different houses, and Slytherins are D personalities. I personalities are people lovers. Like they want to go out, socialize, interact. They can also be drawn to leadership positions, but you also see a lot of them in sales positions, speaking positions. They like to present, they like to talk, they like to tell stories. When you're communicating with an I personality, you need to be patient because they have a story for whatever topic you bring up. They want to share that story. They want you to be impressed by them. Their biggest fear is rejection or loss of approval. And because they want you to accept them so badly, they're going to brag about things. And they're going to feel very braggadocious in that sense. And it can be a little exhausting sometimes. But you need to let them talk. You need to let them share their experiences and make sure you're willing to accept that. So with that in mind, on I personalities, who can think of some famous I personalities?
This public speaker, Les Brown.
Les Brown, yes. Many public speakers are I personalities. I would put Les Brown definitely.
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams is also one of those. In fact, stand-up comedians in particular tend to be I personalities. Jim Carrey, Steve Martin, Walt Disney was an I personality. I personalities are also very disorganized. So when you hear talk about Disney, Walt Disney was very disorganized, and it was his brother Roy that really kept things together. He was that opposite personality. Han Solo and then Gryffindors typically are I personalities.
Could you say artistic?
Artistic is another way of looking at it. Yes, many of them are very artistic, for sure, for sure.
He has a yellow shirt on, just like the fun in the other.
Right? Exactly.
Yellow personality.
Exactly. All right. And you'll notice, and I forgot to point this out, in dominance, there's only about 3% of the population has that D personality. So not a lot of people, which is good, otherwise we'd be constantly at war. 11% approximately are I personalities.
JFK though, that's really surprising.
Yeah, JFK is known as a great orator and people person, and so that's why he's categorized in that I area. S personalities. Now we're moving into the introverts. S personalities are steady. They're the opposite of D. That's why they're on opposite ends. Where Ds can accept change, S personalities very much struggle with change. So whenever you hear someone say, I don't like change, that's usually an indicator that they're an S personality to some degree. They are very compassionate, they're good listeners, they're great empaths. They're great observers of people. And so you want feedback from S personalities, but in order to do so, they need to feel safe. You notice their fear is loss of security or confrontation. If they feel like they're going to be belittled or attacked, they're going to keep that information safe with them, where it's secure. So if you want an S to communicate with you, make them feel safe, let them know that their input is valued. And when you get them into that spot as an employee, they will be loyal to you because loyalty is another big characteristic of S personalities. Now, the disadvantage again is if they can't feel safe, if they're uncertain, they're not going to share that information. So based on this information, what you know of S personalities, can anybody think of anybody who's a famous S personality style? Again, they're passionate about things, they're very empathic.
I don't know, Mother Teresa? I don't know.
Mother Teresa is absolutely an S personality style. So Tom Hanks could potentially be. Tom Hanks has a lot of passions and he's a charitable person. So Tom Hanks very well could fall in that category as well. Absolutely. But Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Michael J. Fox, David Beckham is one that showed up on that I thought was interesting. Luke Skywalker, he's passionate about his things, right? You know what he's going for. And then Hufflepuffs. My wife is definitely an S personality and she brags about being a Hufflepuff, so it just makes sense for her.
69%.
Yes, 69%. So here's the thing is if you're not sure what someone's personality style is when you're communicating with them, 2/3 of a chance they're an S personality style. By far the most common, the most popular personality style out there. Now on to C's, compliance. There's no soft way of saying this. The easiest way to describe C's is they are your typical nerds. Okay? C's don't want to talk to people, but you give them instructions, you give them directions, you give them, a format of something to build. They love that. They don't want to interact with people. They want to build things. They want to create things. They tend to be drawn towards things like being an accountant, computer programmer, engineer. When you communicate to a C personality, they don't want the stories. They don't want a lot of stuff. They just want the information, give them the instructions, and let them go to work, and they can spend the next 8 hours by themselves working on things and be just absolutely happy about it. Now, also you need to make sure you give them time to ask clarifying questions because they will ask you direct questions and they want direct answers. So don't waste their time. They're very task-oriented. My son is very much like this. You give him instructions. If he's building something in Legos, he builds it so fast and he just isolates himself in his room and that's what he wants to do. Does anyone know someone like that?
My wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
My oldest son.
So with that in mind, who are some other people that you can think of, some famous people who would be an S personality or C personality?
Rain Man. Rain Man.
Rain Man? Yeah, maybe.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. So
Oh.
Elon Musk could definitely be a C personality. I could also see him as a D personality. Some of the people that came up though is Albert Einstein, Bill Gates, Clint Eastwood. And this is where they put Nixon. Nixon is very much an analytical
Okay.
kind of person. C-3PO, again, if we're going with Star Wars. And then Ravenclaws, obviously, are the C personalities there. They're the nerds or the smart ones in the Harry Potter world. So with all this information, the big thing I want you to know is start watching for people's communication styles and recognize that if someone's being abrasive or someone's disorganized, it's just part of their style, and you can use that to identify on how to communicate and work with them better and make everything easier for you and for them. Thank you very much.